Good evening and welcome to the Channel Studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5. A German court has sentenced a Syrian colonel to life in prison for crimes against humanity in a landmark case. Anwar Razlan was linked to the torture of over 4,000 people in Syria's civil war in a jail known as Hell on Earth. The trial in Koblenz is the world's first criminal case brought over state-led torture in Syria. Razlan was accused of being a high-ranking security service officer under President Bashar al-Assad as mass anti-government protests were violently crushed in 2011. French teachers are staging a mass strike that could close half of schools in protest against the government's handling of the coronavirus crisis. French ministers have made keeping schools open a priority, despite a recent surge in COVID-19 cases fueled by the Omicron variant. Teachers say rules in school are confusing and constantly changing. Many primary schools have closed, as unions expect about 75% of teachers to go on the strike. It could be the biggest in decades, as 11 unions representing teachers, parents and other school staff vent their anger at the government's COVID policies. Africa has now reported over 10 million COVID cases, according to the continent's top public health official.
So we've hit an important milestone of 10 million.
Speaking at an online press briefing, Director of the African Centres for Disease Control and Prevention, Director John Kengasong, updated the disease spread across the continent. He went on to say that the death toll stood at 223,000, with the majority reported in South Africa. The CDC director added that just over 10% of the African population are now fully vaccinated. The EU foreign policy chief says the bloc will impose sanctions on Mali in line with measures already taken by the ECOWAS group of West African states. Josep Borrell said that the situation in the country was deteriorating and that despite warnings to Malian authorities, there were no signs of progress. The Economic Community of West African States agreed a raft of restrictions against Mali on Sunday over the interim authorities' failure to hold democratic elections next month, as was agreed following a 2020 military coup. Italy is marking the 10th anniversary of the Costa Concordia cruise ship disaster with a day-long commemoration. 32 people died when the ship hit a reef and capsized off the Tuscan island of Giglio. 4,200 people survived, but many were injured. Members of the Coast Guard lay flowers at sea where the Costa Concordia smashed into the rocks. Masses and ceremonies have been held across the region. Here, families and friends of those who died attending a service to commemorate those lost. The events will end with a candlelight vigil at 9:45 when the ship hit the reef. Novak Djokovic has been drawn to play in the Australian Open despite ongoing uncertainty over whether his visa will be cancelled again by the government.
We start with our #1 seed for the tournament, Novak Djokovic.
Despite potential for the Serb's bid to win a 21st Grand Slam title to be ruled out by the Australian authorities, the 34-year-old defending champion has been drawn against unseeded fellow Serb Miomir Kecmanovic in the first round, but Australia's immigration minister is still considering using his powers to revoke his visa. Ivory Coast football fans watching the Africa Cup of Nations are being greeted with rapid tests, masks and vaccines to try and increase the vaccination rate. Thousands of fans have stormed the Cup of Nations villages in Abidjan, where the matches are projected on giant screens. Masks are required within the fan zones and stands have been set up for awareness raising about COVID-19. Rapid tests and vaccines are also being offered at mobile clinics. One of the tournament favourites, Ivory Coast defeated Equatorial Guinea 1-0 in their first game on Wednesday. And finally, Australia has equalled its hottest day on record after a remote coastal town reported temperatures as high as 50 degrees Celsius. The temperature in Onslow, Western Australia, matched a record set in 1962 in South Australia. Onslow and the surrounding areas could see records broken again, with temperatures set to rise slightly on Friday. And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the Channel Studios in Lagos.